are different now, and I'm different now. And I would hate to leave here tonight knowing that I didn't say something that I should have. Like I didn't fight hard enough for you. So, you might know what this special detachment is all about?
No, mission's a mission. They don't confront me.
You're not a player, and Kelly is not a sunbeam. Us on that field only benefits you, so we don't need to hear any more from Mr. and Mrs. Sellout. No offense. You get disoriented and confused, and I don't care how smart you are, how many books you read. You won't remember how you got here, much less how to get out. You've done your research.
Thank you, Dan. That means so much coming from a fellow hermano del mundo.
Okay, yeah, I like you. It's clear your boy has it bad for Kira, and I'm cool with it. Because how'd you put it? You smoked her out for me, right? Oh, and some words of advice? How you get them is how you lose them.
How different is your life being out in public, etc.?
I get cussed out a lot.
Really?
I don't
get cussed out a lot.
For what?
People like you think the show's real.
No, but I don't understand why they're mad. I never understood why people are mad at Lawrence.
Have you ever wondered what it takes to go from an Air Force brat with an imaginary best friend to standing ovations on both Hollywood sets and off-Broadway stages?
And it's so healing and so freeing and protective and so many things when you're young, And mine just happened to be through my childhood imaginary friend named Mikey.
The story you're about to hear isn't just about an actor who made it. It's about a man who spent his childhood talking to someone who wasn't there, got slapped by strangers for playing a character too well, and somehow turned rejection into a multi-million-dollar empire.
And she walked up and she saw me and she just... What? And I was like, I'm sorry, excuse me, what happened? I don't know, I can't wait.
But here's what nobody saw coming. The same guy who had women chasing him through airports is the one who spent 5 months learning to fly fighter jets at 500 miles per hour. Stick around, because by the end of this, you'll understand why Jay Ellis might just be the most underestimated talent in Hollywood right now. And trust me, the final revelation about his childhood will change how you see everything he's ever done. Wendell Ramon J. Ellis Jr. was born on December 27, 1981, in Sumter, South Carolina. But that's just where the story starts. His father, Wendell Ramon Ellis Sr., dedicated over 15 years to the Air Force, while his mother, Paula Bryan Ellis, climbed the ranks as a chief financial officer. As an only child in a military family, Jay's childhood wasn't measured in years at one address. It was measured in goodbye after goodbye.
I was just so used to things ending after 2 years.
Yeah.
And it's because we moved every 2 years. And I didn't realize that. But you don't go all the way because you realize, well, what's the point? 2 years from now, I'm going to be out of here.
12 schools in 13 years. Let that sink in for a moment. Most of us can't imagine moving once during our childhood, but Jay, he became a professional at being the new kid. Every 2 years, like clockwork, his life would reset. New faces, new friends, new everything. And here's the thing about that kind of instability. It either breaks you or it builds something in you that nothing else can touch.
My childhood imaginary friend named
Mikey.
Who was like my big brother, who protected me and taught me everything and got me into a lot of trouble.
But Jay wasn't facing all those moves alone. He had Mikey. Now, before you ask who Mikey is, let me tell you, Mikey wasn't real. Mikey was Jay's imaginary friend, his constant companion through every relocation, every first day at a new school, every lonely night in a new bedroom. And in 2023, Jay would write an entire memoir about him titled, Did Everyone Have an Imaginary Friend or Just Me?
You know what's interesting? So there's a couple things. One, I did a bunch of research, and you find that about 60 to 65% of children have some version of an imaginary friend.
Yeah.
And that can include like your stuffed animal talking
stuffy.
to you, right?
Yes.
Like, which is happening in my house right now.
Picture this, a young Jay Ellis in Tampa, Florida, during a massive storm. His father had just been scammed, bought a TV out of someone's trunk at a Piggly Wiggly parking lot, only to open the box and find it stuffed with bricks. While his dad ranted about tracking down the scammer and his mother insisted it was hopeless, Jay's bedroom began to flood. In his imagination, alligators swam around his bed and he was terrified to move. That's when Mikey appeared over his shoulder and said 5 words that would define their friendship. I ain't gonna be no alligator's dinner.
Alligators swimming around my bed, and I was terrified to get out of my bed, and Mikey, my imaginary friend, pops over my shoulder and says, I ain't gonna be no alligator's dinner. And like from then on, no questions, best friends.
From that moment, they were inseparable. Mikey was the big brother Jay never had, the one who protected him, got him into trouble, and helped him navigate the loneliness of constant relocation. But here's what makes this story even more fascinating. Research shows that about 60 to 65% of children have some version of an imaginary friend. It's not weird. It's survival, it's creativity. It's a child's way of processing a world that keeps changing. And Mikey stuck around until Jay was about 10 or 11 years old. There was no dramatic goodbye, no final conversation. Mikey just faded away, the way Jay's friendships had been been fading away his entire childhood. One day he was there, and then he wasn't.
No, it's really interesting. It was kind of just like a fade away.
Yeah.
It was, and I think on it now, and like in a lot of ways, it probably mimicked what a lot of my friendships were at the time.
But by then, Jay was discovering something else that would fill that void: basketball. Jay had a massive growth spurt, and suddenly people were telling him he needed to play. So he did, and he fell in love with it. So in love that he wrote himself a $100 million check from the Seattle Supersonics, had his mother laminate it at work, and hung it on his refrigerator. Every single day before leaving the house, he'd kiss that check.
I thought I was going to the league, and I went to the league, but just in a different way. You know what I'm saying? It was just a little bit of a different way.
He wasn't just playing around. Jay was serious. He ended up playing basketball at Concordia University in Oregon, where he also served as student body president and graduated summa cum laude. He even interned with the Portland Trail Blazers during their infamous Jailblazers era. Everything was pointing toward a career in sports. Except
sports to me are so ripe for story because, like, first of all, they're wildly relatable. Every major city in the world has a sports team, and we all, at least one, and everybody or a lot of people in that city are like, that's our team.
Jay couldn't stop thinking about the theater kids. Every day on his way to basketball practice, he'd walk past the theater building. The back doors would be open, and he'd see students inside being trees, doing warm-up exercises, losing themselves in characters. And he was jealous, deeply, painfully jealous.
And so we'd have to walk by the theater every day to go to basketball practice, and the back doors of the theater would be open, and I would see these theater kids in there, and they'd be like, they were being a tree, and they were doing all this stuff, and I was so jealous.
Here's a guy living his dream, playing college basketball on scholarship, and he's watching theater students through a window, wishing he could be one of them. But he was too afraid to tell his teammates, too afraid to seem vulnerable, too afraid to admit that maybe the dream everyone expected him to chase wasn't the one he actually wanted. After graduation, Jay moved to Los Angeles, but he didn't tell his parents why.
Then after I graduated, I was like, this is the one thing that I want to do, and I just want to figure out how to do it. And I did not tell my parents for a very long time.
Well, that's what I read.
He worked retail, he bartended, he bounced around, doing whatever it took to survive. His father started calling, asking when he was going to stop playing around and come home to Oklahoma. Jay kept deflecting.
I remember my dad calling me, and he was like, hey man, so how long you gonna, you've been out there playing for a while, how long you gonna play? You know, it might be time to come home. And I was like, I'm not coming back to Oklahoma.
Then his cousin saw him in a commercial. His parents called immediately, confused and demanding answers. Why was he on TV? What was he doing?
And I ended up booking this job, and my cousin sees me on television in a commercial and calls my dad and my mom and is like, hey, Jay is on a commercial.
Jay tried to play it off, claiming he booked the commercial during his lunch break, that he didn't even know how it worked. But the truth was starting to come out. He was chasing something they didn't understand, something without a blueprint in their world. The first time he officially told his parents he was an actor, when he was testing for his first pilot.
They're gonna test. We're gonna give them all a contract, and one of the three of them will book this role. And the first time I tested for a pilot was the first time I called my parents and told them that I was an actor.
Testing for a pilot is Hollywood's version of a high-stakes audition. 200 people compete, get whittled down to 20, then to 3 finalists who perform for network executives. Jay made it to that final round. That's when he finally made the call.
Finally, you know, they understood it. I got a job that made the air.
They didn't get it at first. They thought he was doing a play at some local theater. But eventually, they understood. And when he booked the game in 2013...
Pictures on the cover of every sports magazine with a question mark on my face. What's Blue gonna do? Blue, the future of football. Can he live up to the hype?
Everything changed. The game had already been a cultural phenomenon, running 3 seasons on the CW before getting canceled, then brought back to life on BET for another 6 seasons. When Jay joined in season 6, episode 100, he wasn't just stepping into a show, he was stepping into a legacy.
So this is Mr.
This was my very first episode of this show. This was episode 100 of this show, and Lauren London and I joined in episode 100.
He played Bryce Blue Westbrook, a cocky, intelligent football player who wasn't just talented on the field. He had a 4.0 GPA and actually went to class. Jay brought layers to the role, showing a guy who was arrogant because he knew he was smarter and more athletic than everyone else.
This is a guy who is not only a phenomenal football player, but he's also smart. He also graduated with a 4.0, and he actually went to class and took hard classes. And so there was also this thing of he has a bit of an arrogance to.
But what really changed Jay's career, what made him a household name, was Insecure. In August 2015, it was announced that Jay Ellis had joined the cast of HBO's new comedy series created by Issa Rae. When Insecure premiered in October 2016, nobody could have predicted the cultural storm it would create. And at the center of that storm, Lawrence Walker. Lawrence was Issa D's long-term boyfriend. boyfriend, a guy stuck on the couch, unemployed for years, struggling with depression while his girlfriend held everything down. Jay played Lawrence with such painful authenticity that people forgot it was fiction.
And I'm such the opposite of that. I felt my work as an actor is to build this character. And I think through that, I learned a lot about myself.
Lawrence was terrifying for Jay to play because Lawrence lived entirely in his head, the complete opposite of who Jay is as a person. But that's what made the performance so powerful.
I'm sorry for not being who you expected me to be, who I expected me to be.
Jay had to build this character from the ground up, learning what it meant to be paralyzed by depression, to feel like a failure, to watch your relationship crumble because you can't get out of your own way.
I don't know, like there's something beautiful in the fact that he's also saying like it was not about you, like it was me and I was in my own way. And I'm sorry that I got us to where we ended up.
The show spent an entire season watching Lawrence and Issa's relationship deteriorate. And then came the moment that broke the internet. Issa cheated on Lawrence with Daniel, a music producer, in a studio bathroom. The backlash was immediate. Audiences were divided. Some defended Issa, pointing out that Lawrence had been unemployed for 4 years, that she'd been holding him down, that on her birthday he didn't even plan anything because he had a, quote, a bad day. Others stood firmly with Lawrence, arguing that infidelity is never justified, that Issa should have communicated or left instead of stepping out.
2 people in a television show have ever sat down and been completely honest about why their relationship didn't work, or like why one of them may have cheated on the other.
But here's where things got wild. People started blaming Jay Ellis for Lawrence's actions. A woman walked up to Jay in the Salt Lake City airport and slapped him. Just walked up and smacked him across the face because she couldn't separate Lawrence from Jay.
I get the side eye a lot. A year ago, I was slapped in an airport. I was in an airport leaving Salt Lake City, and this woman just walked up. And I was in one of those little stores.
Like the little shops,
the little
kiosk
shops,
thing.
Yeah, with the kiosks. And she walked up and she saw me and she just...
What?
Sis, I feel you, but also that's assault.
And it kept happening. Women would yell at him, chase him, give him the side eye in public, all because of a fictional character. But Jay understood something important. If people were reacting that strongly, it meant he was doing his job. The performance was hitting home.
And it's a lot of Lawrences out there too. It's a lot of Lawrences out there, and I think that's what's like dope. Is like, you know, and I mean that in a way that like now the more I'm out and just about, like, people walk up and they're like, "Yo, I'm Lawrence."
What made Lawrence so compelling was that he represented something rarely shown on television: a black man dealing with depression, struggling with vulnerability, unable to express his emotions. Lawrence wasn't just a bum on the couch. He was a man paralyzed by fear and shame, and millions of men, especially black men, saw themselves in him.
We had a huge male audience for this show. And I think people don't realize that, like how many guys would show up to watch this show because they saw themselves through Lawrence. And I think that made me even double down more and get more protective because I was like, yeah, I'm out here repping for you.
The show's male audience was huge, something people didn't realize until it was too late. Men were showing up in droves because they finally saw their story told with honesty and nuance. For his work on Insecure, Jay Ellis received the Outstanding Supporting Actor in a Comedy Series Award at the 49th NAACP Image Awards. The show ran for 5 seasons, from 2016 to 2021, and became one of HBO's most beloved series. But while Insecure was making Jay a star, something else was happening in his personal life. In 2015, Jay began dating Serbian model and actress Nina Sinikar. They kept their relationship relatively private, welcoming their daughter Nora Grace Ellis in November 2019. In July 2022, they married in Italy. And then, predictably, the internet had opinions. Some social media users criticized Jay for marrying a white woman, forcing him to limit comments on his posts. But Jay has always maintained boundaries around his personal life, refusing to let strangers dictate his happiness.
And so I think that, you know, everybody has their boundaries, and mine is just, I keep my personal life personal.
He values privacy, he values protecting his family, and he's not apologizing for that. In July 2024, Jay and Nina welcomed their son Noah, making them a family of 4. Jay often jokes about the chaos of having 2 kids under 5, about his daughter Nora treating baby Noah like a doll, dragging him around the house while Jay nervously watches.
This attention, and she loves him, but like a doll. You know what I mean? Not like a human. Like she squeezes him so tight. And I'm like, his eyes are literally going to pop out.
But being a father has changed Jay's perspective on everything, including his career choices. In 2019, Jay starred in Escape Room.
I saved our asses. You're welcome.
You killed Mike.
Sitting on his ass 12 hours a day killed him. If it wasn't that room, it'd have been the next.
A psychological horror film that became a sleeper hit. Then came the role that would take him to a completely different level, Top Gun Maverick.
So what say you put some skin in the game?
What do you have in mind?
Whoever gets shot down first has to do 200 push-ups.
Guys, that's a lot of push-ups.
When Jay booked Top Gun Maverick, he called his parents from the 405 freeway, barely able to contain his excitement. His mother screamed so loud she nearly lost her voice. His father, he said, "That's really cool, man. Too bad it's the Navy, though."
After she comes down, my dad is like, "Oh, that's really cool, man. That's really cool. But that's the Navy, right?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Man, that's too bad." And I was like, "Are you serious right now?"
You see, Jay's entire family is Air Force. His father, both grandfathers, his step-grandfather. The rivalry between Air Force and Navy is real, and his dad wasn't about to let it slide just because his son was in a Tom Cruise movie. But when Jay's father attended the premiere, he cried. For a man who rarely showed emotion, who came from a generation that equated vulnerability with weakness, seeing his son fly fighter jets on the big screen broke something open.
It's probably the first time I saw him cry in a very long time. Because he's, again, from a different generation.
Yes.
So he's just like, "Oh, I'm a man. I just tough through it. I'm, it's
Yes.
Burt Reynolds. It's John Wayne. It's like, the guy."
What audiences didn't realize is just how much work went into Top Gun Maverick. Jay and the cast underwent months of intense training, learning to fly, enduring G-forces, spending 6 hours underwater in simulated helicopter crashes, all while still having to act.
I think for this, we actually flew formation with Miles a couple times. So, in flying formation, that's two planes actually flying with each other at the same time. We shot this piece together. When Tom shoots through us, we shot that piece together.
They started in small Cessna planes, graduated to faster single-prop aircraft, then moved to jets, and finally, the FA-18 Super Hornet. Tom Cruise designed the entire training program himself, refusing to fake anything. If they were going to make this movie, it had to be real. Jay played Ruben Payback Fitch, a weapons systems officer with smooth confidence and a sharpshooter's ego. He wanted Payback to feel like the guy who'd ask you for $5 and never pay you back, but who was also so damn good at his job you couldn't stay mad.
I always wanted Payback to be a guy who felt cool, felt smooth, and he's always the guy who will ask you for $5 and never pay you back.
The movie became a global phenomenon, earning over $1.4 billion worldwide. It was a career-defining moment, but Jay wasn't done pushing himself. In April 2025, Freaky Tales hit theaters.
I am Superman, but if you put your mind to it, you can achieve your goals too. Join me this weekend at the Oakland Coliseum Annex for Sleepy's Mind Wide Awake seminar.
Directed by Anna Boden and Ryan Fleck, the film is an anthology set in 1987 Oakland, California, weaving together 4 interconnected stories about underdogs fighting back. Jay plays a fictionalized version of NBA player Sleepy Floyd, but this Sleepy Floyd is also a martial arts master who fights with swords.
What? He's got swords? He played basketball too? It was truly one of the most original things I read.
Jay spent 4.5 months learning 5 or 6 different martial arts styles and weapons, creating a playlist to stay locked into character. He jokes that he went to the league, just not the way he expected when he was kissing that $100 million check as a kid. But perhaps the most unexpected turn in Jay's career came in June 2025, when he made his off-Broadway debut in Duke and Roya at the Lucille Lortel Theater. Duke and Roya tells the story of a rapper on a USO tour who meets an Afghan translator on a military base in 2016. She sneaks on and off base dressed as a man because women in Afghanistan aren't allowed to work. Through conversation and curiosity, they find themselves and each other in the middle of war-torn Kabul. Jay was terrified. Theater is unforgiving. There are no second takes, no cuts, no safety nets. If you forget a line, you have to keep going. If your pants fall down during a costume change, you better hope you make it back on stage on time.
If I mess up, if I forget something, if I take my pants off, if I kick off my shoe and whatever, I might miss the moment that I'm supposed to run back on stage.
Your pants on.
And yes, that almost happened. Jay admits he accidentally started pulling his pants down backstage, forgetting he wasn't supposed to change it. But the play has been a revelation. Co-produced by Naturi Naughton, John Legend, and Kerry Washington. Duke and Roya features an all-black and Middle Eastern creative team, written by Charles Randolph Wright, directed by Warren Adams, with lighting, sound, and costume designed by Black and Afghan artists. The play runs through August 23, 2025, and has been receiving standing ovations every single night. And Jay? He's playing a rapper. He's performing entire songs live on stage, and he admits he's thought about recording a rap album at least 4 times. Currently, Jay is also starring in Netflix's Running Point alongside Kate Hudson and Mindy Kaling.
Is it fine?
All right, well, you're gonna have a little shiner, but take a lot of that face. It's a good one.
The series, inspired by Jeannie Buss's journey running the Los Angeles Lakers, follows Isla Gordon as she takes over her family's NBA team. Jay plays Coach Jay Brown, a character loosely based on Phil Jackson, who becomes Isla's confidant and voice of reason. The show was renewed for a 2nd season, proving once again that Jay has a gift for choosing projects that resonate. Whether it's basketball, fighter jets, martial arts, or off-Broadway theater, Jay keeps finding ways to challenge himself. Through it all, Jay has remained committed to philanthropy. In 2017, he partnered with AMFAR, a leading HIV/AIDS research organization, using his platform to raise awareness and fight stigma. He's spoken openly about how HIV disproportionately affects the Black community, stressing the importance of testing, awareness, and education. It's personal for him. He lost an uncle to AIDS in the early 1990s and has had another family member living with HIV since the late 1990s. Jay also co-owns Spin and Pilates studios in Louisiana and maintains a rigorous fitness routine, often training 6 hours a day for roles. At 6 feet 3 inches, he's known for his dedication to health and wellness, though he jokes that for theater, he's had to adjust his eating schedule to avoid any Bali belly situations on stage. As of 2025, Jay Ellis's net worth is estimated at $3 million, a number that will likely skyrocket as his career continues to expand across film, television, theater, and potentially music. But here's what you need to understand about Jay Ellis. He's not just an actor, he's a man who learned resilience from 12 schools in 13 years. He's someone who understands loneliness so deeply that he created a best friend out of thin air just to survive. He's the guy who chose vulnerability over ego, who walked away from basketball to chase a dream nobody in his family understood, and who refused to give up even when his father was asking him to come home. Jay Ellis is proof that the weird kids, the ones with imaginary friends, the ones who don't fit the mold, grow up to do extraordinary things. And whether he's flying fighter jets, wielding swords, rapping on stage, or coaching an NBA team on Netflix, one thing is clear: Jay Ellis is just getting started. And that imaginary friend he had as a kid, Mikey might be gone, but the creativity, imagination, and resilience he represented, that's still with Jay every single day.